Good evening. My name is Timothy Yvonne with the Haitian American Museum of Chicago, and we are located at 4654 North Racine in the uptown area of Chicago. Our web address is www.hamoc.org. For information, if you want to email us at info@hammock.org. Our phone number is 773-213-1869. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Lowell Thompson. He's an amazing artist. So today we're going to talk about immigration and also his new amazing book called My Best Friends of Color. Mr. Lowell, welcome.
Good to be here.
Good, glad to have you. Let's talk about your book. Some of My Best Friends of Color, which I think is a great book and a great concept. What he's getting ready to do.
Well, it's bigger than a book. I mean, I'd hate to just confine it to a book because what I'm talking about is solving America's biggest, longest running, and most potentially devastating problem, which is what?
What's that?
Racism and the idea of white supremacy. Now, you may say, well, what? You're going to solve racism and white supremacy? How are you going to do that? With a coloring book. This is a coloring book. The title of the book is Some of My Best Friends Are Colored. You say, well, some of my best friends are colored. Isn't that a put down of colored people?
Right.
Isn't that a cliche?
No one
that they used to say, they don't call people colored anymore. But that's the beauty.
Yeah.
That's why I came up with it, because I'm an artist and a writer. And I remember when I was a kid, growing up on the south side of Chicago, they used to call us, I think at one point, they called us Negroes. They called us colored. They called us other things that I can't repeat on the air. But at some point during the 60s, the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Arts Movement, they started calling us black. Now, when I was probably 16, 17 on the south side of Chicago and they called me black, I said, what? You call me black? You black too.
Yeah.
It's time to fight, right? But at some point, we became acclimated to the idea that being called black was not a negative, right? So we became black. But if you talk to anybody before 1965, my age or a little older, and they don't want to be called black. A lot of them still don't want to be called black, even though they go along with it. But so I'm saying, well, I want to use a term. Before we became black, we were called Negro and colored. I thought that the idea of using colored and the idea that some of my best friends are colored was a good idea. Why? Because some of my best friends are colored. Matter of fact, all my friends are colored.
Right.
And I've got a lot of friends who call themselves white, who you would call white, but they're not white.
Right. Explain.
Any 4-year-old kid knows they're not white.
Yeah, and explain.
They're colored.
Yeah, explain that.
Well, all you got to do is get a box of crayons, and you get crayons that are maybe pink. You get a crayon that may be like maybe a beige. It might be like a burnt sienna, a burnt umber. Me, my color. What color am I?
Brown.
Now I'm wearing black. Here, you see this? I wore this for a purpose. That's black. What color am I?
Brown. Ish.
Well, as an artist, I would say burnt sienna, a combination of burnt sienna, burnt umber, but brown.
Okay.
Not black.
Okay, not black.
Now, if we had a person, any of the people that I know up in Uptown, that's where I live now.
Me as well.
Any of the people who are called white in Uptown are not white. They're more like a pinkish, like maybe a little off, a beige, a little light tan, a combination.
A darker tan.
Right. But none of them are white. So why are we calling them white?
Why?
Here in the year 2017, why are we still calling people black or white? One of the lines that I use in my coloring book, and it is a coloring book, and we're actually going to have an event on May 15th.
And where's this event going to be on May 15th?
This event is probably, to me, now maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe I'm overexcited. But to me, this event is probably the most important event in the history of this country, ever, period. Why? Because in this event, we're going to finally confront the idea that the human species can be divided into either black or white. We're going to actually have coloring pages at the event. We're going to have crayons, all free, and we're actually going to be giving away many coloring books. Giving them away.
I'm looking forward to that coloring book. I would love
Not
that.
selling them, giving them away. Because we want to get people in the habit of seeing the full human spectrum. That we are not either black or white. So that's and it's May 15th in Uptown.
So you're not selling the book, right?
We're not selling it. We're giving it away.
Since she said we can't, since she said our boss said we can't show the book, since you're not selling the book, I wonder if we can show the books. I think we should.
We should show it because
since
we're
you're not
giving it
selling the book.
away.
Yeah. So continue to talk about that book.
We're giving this away, and we want you to come and get one. And one of the things in the book, in the first page of it, is a line that I wrote, a thought that I wrote over 20-some years ago in a promotion that I did for a interfaith housing center of the northern suburbs. And the line is, why pray for a colorblind world when rainbows are so beautiful?
That's great. Say it again.
Why would you pray for a colorblind world when rainbows are so beautiful? People say, "Well, wow, we want to be colorblind. I don't want to notice that you're black or that you're brown. We want to be colorblind." And I say, "No, we don't want to be. I don't want to be colorblind. I want to appreciate the rainbow, the spectrum, and the human beings are really not different colors. They're basically a shade or a tint of the same color. The basic color is this color of my hand." Can you see that? My hand is like a pinkish, tannish, beigeish on one side, and it's darker on the other. Now, depending upon whether you are a URAM, a European American, or an AFAM, an Afro-American, your skin tone may be lighter than this, but it's the same, the base is the same. This could be a so-called white person's outer skin. So why are we calling them white? That's what I'm saying. So the whole idea of my book, the whole idea of what I'm doing as an artist, as an activist, as somebody who's sick and tired of living in a world that has been divided into black or white.
Okay.
So part of the idea of this coloring book is to get people to question and to challenge. I'm thinking of writing another book later on. I came up with a great title. I always come up with great titles. But, oh, well, I think they're great.
Yeah.
And the title is "The Emperor is Not White."
Okay.
You heard the thing, the book, the Emperor Has No Clothes, or
Right.
the idea? Well, the Emperor is not white. I've never seen a white emperor. Trump's not white. You know, Clinton wasn't white. Roosevelt wasn't white. Abraham Lincoln certainly wasn't white. So why are we calling him white in the year 2017? So my book is about my coloring book and my whole coloring project, the pop-up gallery that we're going to have on May 15th at Emerald City in Uptown, which is 1224 West Wilson in Uptown, Emerald City Coffee House. We're doing the world's first pop-up gallery studio for some of my best friends of color. And I want you all to be there. I want no excuse.
Let's talk about just like I've left it over there. Let's talk about your other book.
Want to talk
Well,
about?
actually, no. Let's not. Since your book is about colors, let's talk. I think it'd be a great idea if I ask you some questions about immigration, so that way it can tie in. It would tie
Well, I'm glad
into.
you asked me about it.
Yeah, I think
I
it'd be
was
great.
hoping. I was wondering when you were going to ask me about
That's
that.
good now. Well, what do you think? Your opinion? What do you think should be done to help stop illegal immigration?
to help stop
Yeah.
illegal.
What more should be done to stop illegal immigration?
I have no idea.
No.
What I have
What would you guess?
what I have an idea about is the idea that human beings of all of the spectrum should be welcomed into this country. Now, there should be rules about how they get in, and there should be rules about criminals and people who are intent on creating problems. But in general, the same policy that applied 100 years ago when a lot of the Europeans came over, and when people of other so-called colors and races came over, should apply now. But it should be applied with an eye toward the upside of immigration. My book is about, the coloring book is about welcoming. I live in Uptown, which is the most welcoming neighborhood in Chicago, maybe one of the most diverse and non-segregated in the world, at least in the country.
I agree.
And so I believe immigration is a subject that should be talked about, thought about, and acted on, and not ignored, and not turned into a political football.
What if undocumented workers, if undocumented residents are not deported, what should be done to them?
If they're not deported, what should be done?
Yep.
That's a good question.
What do you think?
I think we should think about it. I think intelligent people can think about it. Well-meaning people can think about it. I'm not a policymaker. I'm not a politician.
Yeah.
But I think the bottom line has to be we have to treat humans as humans.
Yeah.
We have to treat people the same way we treated people 100 years ago in terms of understanding the value of human creativity, human intelligence. We should be welcoming human intelligence from all over the world.
I agree.
That's one of the things that made this country unique.
Right. It's definitely it's immigration. That's what made us. That's what definitely made us unique.
Right.
It's when back in the days when the immigrants were coming from Europe and ended up in Ellis Island, we accepted everyone and anyone, and that's what made us. We're very unique, and now we're at a place where we're pushing people away with so many amazing things that can do so much to our country, and we're not letting. And we're not.
Well, part of it too is that we're pushing people away of certain backgrounds, certain ethnicities.
Yeah.
We're not pushing other people away.
Right. Yeah.
And that's part of the problem.
That's
If we're gonna be an egalitarian society, then let's be that.
Yeah.
Let's not be a hypocrisy. We are more of a hypocrisy than we are a democracy in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I agree. Another question. Should children of illegal immigrants become U.S. citizens at birth? Do you think?
Good question. I think the policy has been that they do become U.S. citizens at birth.
Yep.
And I would think long and hard about changing that policy. I don't know if it's a good idea to change that.
No, I don't understand why would we go back on that after we've done that for so long.
Right.
Why would we go back on that?
But we need well-meaning, intelligent people
That would do something that would put.
who would figure out, hey, this is what we have to do, and we have to stick to it. We don't need somebody who is changing his mind every other day. I don't want to get into politics.
Yeah. But yeah, immigration is politics. Yeah. Another question. What part of illegal? Oh, this is a good one. What part of illegal don't you understand?
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah.
I don't understand any of that.
So what part?
Huh?
Yeah, it's kind of a trick question.
I know.
'Cause I want to know.
You tricked me.
Yeah. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Where are you? All right, let's take a break from that. And I wish I had your book with me. I wish I had it with me. I'll figure it out there.
What book are you talking about? You talking about my African Americans in Chicago book?
Yeah. You have it with you right now?
Yeah, I've got one probably in my bag.
No. Okay. All right. Never mind.
But let's talk about it. Let me at least
Yeah, please do.
let me at least mention
Mention it.
that I wrote a book. I'm not going to even get into anything, but
Okay.
I was somebody who was born and raised in Chicago. But I didn't know the history of this country, of this city, and African Americans in this city until I started doing research on this book. And I found out that the history of African Americans in Chicago is so amazing that it's almost unbelievable. And yet, I didn't know it, even though I grew up in Chicago. Was born on the street named after an African American soldier who fought and died in World War I. This street was named after an African American soldier
Oh, we have a caller.
before 1940s.
We have a caller. Caller.
Hi, my name is Amabel, and I had a question for the guest. So I guess we were talking about immigration, and I wanted to know, like, how would your book, and you're talking about race earlier with your coloring book, and some of my best friends are colored, and so how do you think your book could help people learn more about immigration as well?
That's a good question.
Thank you, caller.
I think on a conceptual basis, my book is all about immigration. It's about welcoming the human species, the human spectrum. That's what my book is about. And so, is that about immigration? I think so.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that anybody who gets my book and colors my book or comes to our event on May 15th and engages in coloring the pages, they will meet other people who are from other places. They will find out that those human beings from other places who may be legal, illegal, or may have come here illegally, who knows? But they will find out that those people that are in that same room coloring are human beings and are decent, nice, intelligent. And that's what it's about. That's what immigration, to me, is about. Welcoming the human species, the whole human spectrum. Why? Because we're nice guys? No. That would be nice, but that's what we learned, the Statue of Liberty, give me your tired, your poor, yearning to breathe free. Well, they say, well, that was because America just loved everybody. No, that's as you grow up, you find out that's not why. It was because we needed immigrants. This country needed immigrants. After people like me, who were slaves, after the slaves were freed, because they weren't economically as necessary, then they needed immigrants. And so the Statue of Liberty was basically a giant want ad, a giant three-dimensional want ad for cheap labor. That's another issue that I talk about in another book. But the bottom line is for
Explain
me,
that. Explain that in the other book. Explain that a little bit.
Well, the idea that the United States of America is this shining city on a hill.
Do you think our country, our economy can depend on illegal immigrant workers? Do you think our economy?
Well,
can?
it does. It does. It already does. I mean, one of the reasons why immigration has been an issue is because a lot of the wealthiest people in this country want immigration.
Right, I agree. Yeah.
A lot of major industries depend on immigration. So it's an issue that we've been hypocrites about.
Is it possible? Is it no, that's not my question. Do you think America? Do illegal immigrants undercut American workers? Do you think that our jobs as American as being less valued?
Well, I
because
don't.
we're American?
Like I said, I'm not an expert on this, but as I understand it, a lot of the jobs that immigrants do, even illegal immigrants, are jobs that other people can't do, won't do, or not available to do.
Yeah.
or are priced out of that market.
Absolutely.
So the immigrants fill a niche that would be empty otherwise. And so that's why a lot of big business people, a lot of people, wealthy people, really want immigrants. And although I, as an African American, am always worried about some other group coming in after I've been here for 300, almost 400 years, our group has been here, and taking our jobs. But the reality is that is a false dichotomy, that is another area of work and jobs that somebody, that would go empty if somebody didn't fill it.
We have another caller. Caller?
Hi, great show.
Thank you.
Look, I just want to commend you on a wonderful outlook on immigration, and that it's really refreshing to see a view of race and ethnicity in this country as inclusive as this, and leave it to an artist, right? Leave it to an artist who's been here for a while to have the wisdom and the insight to make sense of all of this. But my question is this, and you guys are going to laugh at that. We just went through our newest, I guess, federal government administrator. I can't call him our president because he's not mine. But the majority of a bunch of those states colored in red voted for this man.
I'm sorry. Can you say it one more time? Can you say that one more time? It's a little difficult for us to hear you. Say that one more time?
I get it. I'll say it again. Most of the people in this country, well, I'm not going to say most of the people in this country, this administrator was put in office by a large group of people who, well, I mean, I can't say they're intelligent, right? And that's, I mean, your immigration statement about welcoming intelligence into the country would be great, because we sure do need it, don't we? And that's my comment. So I'll let you guys go. Have a good show.
That's an
Thank you very much. Thank you for calling.
Point. The idea of welcoming intelligence, but also the idea that the people who voted for the guy that you call the administrator, that they are dumb. I kind of disagree with the idea that they are dumb. I think that they are afraid. They may be ignorant, which is not the same as dumb. They may be manipulated. They may be fearful of losing something, but it's all based on, part of the reason I did the coloring book, is based on the idea that somehow people who are of a certain color are better than other people. This country has been built on that idea. Now those people, a lot of those people who voted for the administrator-in-chief, those people feel that they have been cheated because they think, based on the way this country has been set up, that they should have certain rights because they are white. And they're not white. Like I said, they're pink at best. But they have been taught by people like the administrator-in-chief that this is their right, that they should have this privilege. And what I'm about is saying, and a lot of people didn't vote for him who are of the Caucasian persuasion, who know better, and I want to get more people of that persuasion to realize, hey, we're all colored people, and we all are human beings, and the minute we stop listening to people like the administrator-in-chief and the people that sponsored him, and start listening to ourselves and becoming the egalitarian society that we've always said we were and have never been, then we have a chance of actually creating a country worth living in.
Right. So thank you, Mr. Thompson, for coming. We appreciate it. Let's wrap up here. Is there, in our last little minutes here, is there something else you want to say?
One thing I want to say is May 15th some of my best friends are colored. Emerald City, 1224 West Wilson in Uptown.
Uptown Chicago.
I want you to be there.
I'll be there.
No excuses.
All right. And here at the Haitian Museum, once again, our address is 4654 North Racine Avenue in Chicago, 60640. For information, you can contact us at www.hammock.org or at info@hammock, also at hammock.org. Our phone number is 773-213-1869. And thank you, Ms. Thompson. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.